Friend Bob Fitzgerald, live, Portland. Here we go. Hey, Bob, what's going on?
Man, you brought me in with a little Michael McDonald. I like that.
Yeah,
That's super solid.
Well, loosen you up a little bit. You know what I mean?
Hey, I can't forget we're not in love anymore. That's what he was singing.
That's exactly right, and oh so true with you in the city of Portland. Apparently, like Lucas was just saying, you were like, yeah, I've been here like a bajillion times. Do you ever do the whole like wake up and I don't even know what city I'm in?
Yeah, but not on a one-dayer type of thing or a short trip. You know, I think when we did the Minnesota, Miami, Orlando, Charlotte, San Antonio, San Francisco, Dallas, Houston trip, I think that was the what room am I in again? What floor am I on? I think we definitely had that going on.
Are you able to still, in a city like Portland, find new things to do, or do you go out and go to the old go-to tried and true stuff?
It depends. Raymond Ritter and I watched the Denver-Minnesota game at a place that we had never had dinner before last night. So that was, there's a few places we'd normally gone to. I said, hey, this one's a couple blocks away. Let's walk and watch that game. And so we went and had dinner. And so it was a different spot after, 111 trips to Portland. We went somewhere different.
Nice. Bob, what'd you think of that game? Is anybody beating Denver?
No. I think their starters are so good.
Yeah.
I think Jokic is so good. I just don't, their weakness is their bench, theoretically. But in the playoffs, I think Michael Malone's going to ride those starters big time. You never have back-to-backs, and they're going to be the number one seed and have home court advantage all the way through. I mean, Denver is going to be a big McGilla to try to deal with for a lot of teams in the NBA.
Well, that's why getting to 7 could be so important. And Mark and I were talking about this, Bob, and we were throwing it out to the listeners about staying in the moment. We're trying to focus on Portland tonight and Game 80. But how much do you think it's top of mind for the club to try to battle and do all they can to get to that 7-8 play-in to maybe avoid the big McGilla, as you called him, Denver?
I think right now, Dibs, you just have let's win the last 3 games. Let's finish with 47 wins, and then let's see what happens. I think there's so many permutations, and, I know Glenn and I will be calling the game in a couple hours and then also watching the Kings and New Orleans game because that has a huge impact on what might be available and, what is possible for the 9-10 game as well as 7-8, and are you traveling, are you hosting the game? And so, but I think it's for the Warriors, win tonight, huge back-to-back with New Orleans, and then take care of Utah Sunday and go from there.
Yeah, Bob Fitzgerald in Portland with us here, Willard and Dibs, as we're getting ready, starting the countdown here to Warriors basketball. No Clay, no Draymond. Bob, are there any concerns there, or are they low-key just kind of also resting for the bigger game tomorrow night?
No, I think they're just being smart. Just like resting Steph on Sunday to kind of get ready for that Laker game. I mean, at some point you have to acknowledge these guys are 36 and 34 years old, and Draymond's going to be dealing with Zion and a few other people tomorrow night. And, he got a knee contusion, so he's a little banged up from the Laker game. And and Clay has been remarkable. He's played the most games of anybody on the team all year. He's only missed 4 games. So with the back-to-back and travel and the whole bit, I think he's probably just being smart and just these guys being honest with where their body feels and knowing how important all these games are.
Are you starting to see some, cohesion between Wiggins and Kuminga when they play together? And is tonight kind of a big test case for that, knowing that Draymond and Clay are out?
Yeah, I mean, that's something that I think they had never played together. So then when, they had that starting lineup with Draymond at the speed 5 and played, Kuminga and Wiggins together, it was sort of, what do wait, you're a post-up guy? Wait, I want to be in the post, and, if I drive, do I pass to you and stuff? So it's just a lot of learning stuff. I mean, Jonathan's 21 years old, so I think a lot of it is you can post him up and you can isolate him on the wing and let him go one-on-one, but, a lot of it is he's so good that if they bring a second defender, his passing skills are the next thing to work on. And for Wiggs, him on the left block is one of the best and most efficient offensive sets the Warriors have, and they've gone to it to start games the last, last couple weeks. And so, I think you're learning a little bit. I mean, Steph, Clay, and Draymond do stuff like breathing, so these other guys learning to play with each other. I think Draymond and Trace developed a little thing. I think Pajemski has been great with how he's figured out how to get other guys involved. So it's just a matter of playing together a little bit. But as a combo, it gives you athleticism and size and switchability defensively. So you do want them as a tandem to be good. So sure, tonight will be more extended minutes to continue to develop that. So it's a good observation on your part for sure.
Bob, you're absolutely right. Win the 3 games, end up at 47, chips fall where they may. But in your opinion, what's their best path out of the play-in tournament in terms of opponents?
Well, I think you'd want Sacramento at home in the 9-10 game, and I think you'd probably want to go to New Orleans if they had lost a game to the Lakers or Phoenix. You know, something along those lines. It sucks to try to have to win 2 games, but, you know, that's really what the Warriors have foisted upon themselves with about 5 games they should have won earlier in the year. You know, and we talked about it at the time and throughout the season that, you know, the West is so good that you have 4 or 5 missteps that were completely avoidable. It would come back to bite you. Well, here comes the bite. So, you know, it's not that right now they're playing their best basketball, and since January 30th, they essentially have the best record in the NBA. So that's not a small sample size, but, you know, not fouling up 3, the 2 games they lost to OKC, blowing 24-point leads to Sac and to the Clippers. I mean, these are games they just should have had,
yep.
And they didn't. And, you know, they're going to have hopefully 47 wins. It probably should have been a 52-win season and the seed accordingly, but it's not going to be. And a lot of those wounds are self-inflicted.
Okay, and then because of that, they are where they are, and then that leads to what? So, in your opinion, the off-season decisions, how much of those are based on whether next week goes well or not?
That would be kind of ridiculous to just, we're going to base the entire, you know, off-season on what happens a week from now. The Warriors have proven they're a 50-win team, probably 50-plus wins. They're super deep. You know, having Chris Paul's amazing as the backup point guard. Steph, Clay, Draymond are still very good players. Trace and Brandon have been a knock out of the park draft. GP2 is a huge Swiss Army knife defensively. You know, and Wiggins has played his best basketball the last 2.5 months. The difference is, and this is the one I can't answer, the owners have paid a huge amount of money in salary. You know, the Warriors' luxury tax bill is bigger than the payrolls of many of the other teams in the league. So how sustainable is that? So you have financial decisions with Chris Paul and with Clay and things like that, and you have payroll decisions on how they look. But that Mike Dunleavy's been evaluating this for months. I highly doubt whatever happens in a week all of a sudden informs, you know, every decision that they're going to make in the offseason.
So what is the biggest motivator of the two? Is it keeping the band together or getting below that luxury tax threshold? Because it may be difficult to serve both masters in the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with Joe and the ownership group is they always spend to be the best they can be, you know, and I think that's one of the greatest things for Dub Nation is that they spend a lot of money on tickets and they support this team at an incredibly high level and always have. But the owners haven't taken a dime of profit and put it in their pocket. They've always put it back into payroll and always spent the money to put the best team on the floor. So I think there can be a lot of, we need to get out of the tax and do this and do that. But then when it's, wait, you can re-sign Clay for this number or you can acquire this guy or do this, they always go to put the best team on the floor. And I probably would expect nothing different for next year.
Bob Fitzgerald with us here, Willard and Dibs, 95.7 The Game. Bob, especially as someone who is so locked into every single game throughout the year, in your opinion, what is the biggest difference between them now versus what they were in November?
The biggest difference is just attention to detail defensively. I think the Warriors just had so many lapses, you know, simple things like, you know, helping off the strong side corner and letting guys shoot wide open threes and stuff, not closing out. I'll give you a good example. Like the beginning of that road trip, the super long one, they lost to Minnesota when Minnesota hit 21 threes, but Naz Reid had 5 walk-up threes where no one closed out at him, you know, and that makes a good shooter a great shooter. You saw with the Warriors making 26 threes where there wasn't a Laker, you know, within the vicinity of a bunch of the shooters. What happened after that Minnesota loss? They were phenomenal the rest of that road trip, just absolutely terrific and locked in. So to me, better attention to detail defensively. The turnovers still are a plague at times in certain games, but I just think you've seen Wiggins come along, Kuminga come along. You've seen Clay come along. Draymond has been back after having kind of a very odd first, 20, 30 games of the year and in and out with the suspensions. So cohesion, health, and then attention to detail. And then also, hey, we can be good. I mean, the thing about tonight is it could be their 25th road win. That's amazing. This franchise has been around for 78 seasons. You don't have to, get your fingers and toes involved to count 25-win road years. Like, not very many seasons that they've done that. And so that can be special if they get that done tonight.
How many of those years where it was 25 wins period, Bob, and you were pining for such a lofty total?
You mean, how about the 17 wins, a couple 19 wins, a 21-win season? I mean, 25 would have been Shangri-La, Dibs. Come on.
I was all about click and roll at Warriors.com in those days, Bob, believe me. Tickets still available.
It's a great timeout.
It sure
a great
was.
timeout. Just remember that. But then, I mean, in 31 seasons, I've seen just about every kind of year that you can. I think the crazy thing is one playoffs in the first 18 years I'm doing the games, and then all of a sudden, the decade run of just incredible excellence. So it's just you always appreciate the good seasons, the winning seasons, and you suffer through the down ones with the hope that it's going to get better, and fortunately it has.
You look at this season for the whole Western Conference, Bob. Can you compare this to anything else where you've got 10 teams that are going to be north of 46 wins, and you could argue that all of them are at least dangerous?
Well, go back to the year after We Believe. The Warriors won 48 games and did not make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And they would have been like the 5 seed in the Eastern Conference. And that was when there was a big thrust, and I was a big proponent of it. Why do you not take the best 16 teams and have them in the playoffs? Like, why geography-wise are you letting sub-500 Eastern teams be a, quote, playoff team and have 48-win Warrior teams sitting home as, quote, lottery teams? I just thought that was a joke. So to me, the East-West thing, I still think is a lot of stupidity. We're watching the Masters. They don't say, well, if you live in these 6 states, you qualify for the Masters, but we can only have X amount of golfers from Arizona and only 2 from California. That's just stupidity. They don't do that for the Olympics for the fastest men and the women in the world. Like, I want the best teams playing for the championship, and the arbitrary geography of it, I think, is dumb.
That sounds like live golf, actually. I think they've got teams,
exactly.
and they're all slotted all over the place. But anyway, Bob, before you go, what's your confidence level that they're coming out of this play-in tournament?
Pretty good. Pretty good. I like the vibe. I like where they're at. I know how dangerous they are, and I think this second half of the season. Do you guys see the movie Seabiscuit?
Oh yeah,
of course.
You know what? Yeah, you know when the biscuit would smell another horse and get super competitive and kick it into another gear.
Yep.
The compete level that is in the DNA of these guys is really strong, and I think that they know if they can get into the playoffs and size somebody up in a 7-game series, that the Dubs are not a light touch. So I just think when it matters for Steph and Clay and Draymond and these guys, Steve Kerr, that there's just a lot of winning in that DNA and a lot of real resolve to be a competitive team. So I'm going with the Seabiscuit. Let them in and let them sniff a few of these other teams, and then let's go after them.
And thank you for Seabiscuit. It completes my Bob Fitz bingo. So I am now a winner with the Seabiscuit square.
I worked in golf. I worked in horse racing. Come on, that's what you got to have.
And a new motto. It used to be strength in numbers. Now it's Warrior basketball. Sniff a horse.
Or it's going to be Warrior basketball. Don't let us smell you.
Okay.
There you have it.
I like it. I like it. Let's
smell you later. Warriors basketball. Smell you later.
Thanks, Bob.
Anytime, guys. Great hearing your voice.
Yeah.
You're good.
Enjoy Portland. Yeah.
There's Bob Fitzgerald here on 95.7 The Game.